Back on MediaCom Channel 22, talking Cougar basketball with a couple of the coaches, head coach Bob Burchard and assistant coach Sean Dooley. Coach Burchard, did you ever imagine when Sean was lacing it up at Southwell that he would be one of your assistant coaches?
Well, you never know. I'll have to admit, Sean had a lot of the qualities that you would see in terms of somebody who was really into the game, somebody who played the game like coaches like to see the game played, and all those things that coaches want guys to do, Sean did. In terms of, he'd get on the floor and dive on the floor and draw a charge, and he did some things that coaches didn't like either, like turn it over and things of that nature. But
only a few of those, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's always nice when you can have one of your former players come back into the program for a lot of reasons. I think it's healthy for the current student athletes to see somebody who has walked before them and can visit with them, but also some familiarity in terms of who people are and the most important thing in coaching, to be honest with you, and I think Sean touched on this a little bit, is trust. I mean, you really have to trust the people around you, and you build that trust in a coach-player relationship and certainly in a staff relationship as well.
And again, another one of your assistants, a former player, Michael Fields as well, but that relationship back in to the mix. Is there a good cop, bad cop mentality in practice in timeouts and on the court as well, or how does that play out?
Who are you asking that?
I don't know. I probably should have picked one or the other. We'll start with Sean down there. What do you think?
It probably just depends on the day or the moment, really. I don't know. I think in this situation, it probably just all depends. We probably observe what the other person's saying. A lot of times it's going to be the same thing. So, one moment he might be the bad cop, and then I just automatically have to try to be the good cop later, or if they come, complaining about it. But it really probably just depends on each situation.
Age, there is an age difference here too, and so that does weigh in on that. And I think probably sometimes, and going back to the former player thing, is I'll say something to the guys, and you'll see they have no level of understanding of what I'm saying, and he later on can say, well, what he really meant was, don't listen to what he said. What he really meant was that you need to rebound a little better.
You guys get into a halftime situation, and we've talked about it before this season and other seasons, how many adjustments are made at halftime. If we can peel the curtain back a little bit into that locker room, what happens depending on, obviously good, bad, or whatever, but what usually is the first thing that happens as far as coaching-wise once you get into that locker room? Sean?
Yeah. So normally we'll meet for probably 3, 4, 5 minutes just as a staff, just to kind of go over the first half and kind of talking about adjustments, what we need to address with the guys, and then we bring that all to the table with them as a group, for a few minutes before they can get back out there and warm up. And it really, a lot of it just depends on a couple of things. Would be, one is how we're playing, what all exactly, and that each game's different. And then the second one is, are they doing anything differently than what we anticipated or we already kind of went through, previously with our guys, kind of what to expect. And it's kind of coming into, talking about having smart guys where, sometimes some guys, if they're smart and high basketball IQ, you can just call a timeout or just say something to them. Hey, this is how they're defending this or that, and they can make adjustments on the fly. Sometimes, it might not, it might be a halftime deal where we got to draw something up on the board and kind of go through it a little bit more. But it just really all depends on the game situation.
I see, Bob, you jot a lot of notes. How many times does that notebook come back out in there at halftime?
It does, and it's really interesting. This is a team deal, and the team does include coaches, not just the participants on the court. Well, one of the things that I've always felt strongly about is that at halftime, when you have a little bit of just a break, when you're off to yourself, off out of the lights, away from fans, away from the competition, for the team to just sit and visit without coaches present, because communication is such a huge part of them working together. Same thing has to happen with coaches. Okay, what do we really need to talk about right now? And then my experience over time has been that guys can only take in so much information, and you really need to have exact information by the time you get to them with what you want them to know. And if it's too much, then they just glaze over and they're too wound up and they can't change. Same thing really occurs in timeouts. I really think you can only get about one major thought across in a timeout to a team, because they're tired. There's something good happened, something bad happened. They're excited. They've got all these things going on, and it's really hard to get them to focus. So that the information that you want to share needs to be shared between coaches and team, but it also needs to be very specific.
Coach Sean Dooley, Assistant Coach Sean Dooley, Head Coach Bob Burchard, thank you guys for your time. Good luck the final 4 regular season games. Glad 3 of them are here at Southwell. And we'll see where the brackets lay for the AMC tournament and hopefully a trip back to Kansas City.
Thanks, Cosmo.
Thanks.
Thank you guys very much again for watching. Also online at ColumbiaCougars.com again for all the scheduled events of game times for both the men and the women's team as well down the stretch as they make runs into the top 25 now and into the AMC conference tournament. Thanks for watching the Cougar Coaches Show on Mediacom Channel 22.